Hello, how are you doing? It's so nice to see you guys. I'm gonna go over a few, not housekeeping rules, but just a few things to know if you haven't joined our live classes before. It has been a while. Live classes I do every so often, but Google Meet is a fairly new thing for me as well. I was using Zoom for the longest time. So what we're gonna do here is it's up to you if you wanna turn on your webcam, your microphone, that's completely up to you. Um, I will offer the opportunity for anybody to ask questions, to speak, to show yourself at the end as well. If you like, feel free to type in the chat box anytime you have questions or want to say hello. So, Adam, hello. Can you guys see the chat box? That's what I would love to know. For those of you who are here, do you mind just typing a little something in the chat box? Say hello, or can you let me know what time it is for you? It is 10 a.m. For me right now. Hello, hello. Is it Safia? I apologize in advance if I get anybody's name wrong, but hello, it's nice to see you. Upma, hello. Whoops, as I get caught on my necklace here. Hello. So it's 11 a.m. for Adam. Now, we likely won't have classes at 10 a.m. Central Time. I've been getting a lot of emails that it's too early for a lot of people, depending on time zones. You might be waking up at 6 a.m., and I don't want to do that to anybody. So I'm going to look at the schedule after our class today, and I'm going to look at some different times that we could have our classes. They will always be on Sundays, though. I'm thinking around noon Central Time, but we'll talk about that later. But thank you for typing in the chat box. So the chat box is working. Everybody can see and hear me okay? And what I'm going to do in a moment is I'm going to share my screen. And I'd love it if you guys could tell me and make sure you can see my screen okay. Okay, can everybody see the screen? What I do know about Google Meet is you are able to move the screens around. So I don't know if I look big and my screen looks small. You can actually cancel me out if you don't want to see me and make the dental ethics and law screen bigger. That's completely up to you. When I took a myofunctional therapy course, they used Google Meet and I loved it. I thought it was the neatest thing, but I was a student. I was not a teacher. So I could kind of see how you can do things from the student side of things. Thank you guys so much for letting me know. That's perfect. So you guys can see the screen okay. We're good to go. But yeah, so what we're gonna do, and by the way, hello, I am Andrea. For those of you who haven't seen me live before, I'm sure you've seen my YouTube videos, my teaching videos inside the course, but it's nice to see you guys. My name is Andrea Turowski, and I've been tutoring for almost 20 years now. Board exam prep, dental hygiene students, dental assisting students. I've been tutoring for a long time. I love it. It's funny. I was talking to a patient the other day. They were talking about retiring, and I said I can't imagine retiring. I love what I do. I love to teach. I love seeing patients. So you will probably see me for another 20 years, if not more. So hello and welcome. Does anybody have any questions before we get started? Feel free to type in the chat box anytime. As I briefly mentioned, you can turn on your webcams, you can turn on your mics if you want to. You don't have to, of course. I find some people like to do that and some people decide not to. That's completely fine. What I'm going to do and how this is going to work is I'm going to teach you guys about dental ethics and law as much as I can teach you in about 35 to 45 minutes, depending. It depends on the topic. Some topics, it might take me the full hour to teach, and then I'm going to leave it open afterwards in case anybody wants to send messages to other students. You can type in the chat box. I can turn on the microphones, the webcams again. You can turn them on, and you can talk with other students if you like. I don't know if anybody's been looking at my posts, but if you ever want to network with other students, go right ahead. Go right ahead. I do have some dental hygienists and dental hygiene some dental hygienists and dental assisting students where where they have said, I want to mentor students. I am very happy to offer up my time. First semester students, even just students who are taking the board exam. So there are mentors as well, but feel free to feel free to post in the Facebook group if you're looking for a mentor, if you're looking for a study partner. You all can form study groups. You guys can do that on your own, go right ahead. Some people prefer to study alone, some people prefer to study in groups, whatever is going to help you guys either in your program or pass the board exam, okay? Safia, so let's see. I see we are starting on week 4, the board exam prep course. Have you had live classes on week 1, 2, and 3, and I missed them? Are you going in any particular order? Thank you. That's a wonderful question. So normally, yes, I start with week 1, week 2, etc. But what I've decided to do this time is mix it up a little bit. I was going through textbooks, and usually ethics and law is first. So I will be going in a particular order. I might even switch up the modules inside the course, but I don't know if you've heard me say this before. It's nice to mix things up. So even if you started with module 1, which I believe is the tooth and tooth surfaces, right? It can't hurt to take a break from that and now today study dental ethics and law. So I'm not going in any particular order, no, simply because students sign up for the courses at different times, and it's nice to mix things up. But what I would like to do for you guys is come up with a schedule so you all know what we're going to be teaching every single weekend, okay? So I hope that that works for you. I just haven't come up with the schedule yet. This live class was kind of something that I'm like, hey, we haven't had a live class in a while. Let's get started with this. And everybody loves live classes because it's just fun to ask questions, to, teach in real time. So does that make sense? So that's kind of my thought process. I typically change things around every year. It really just depends on what works for students. So I kind of read the room and see what people prefer. So do not hesitate to reach out to me afterwards with any feedback, any questions, any clarification that you might need. Is your course material straight from the Modern Dental Assisting textbook? Actually, I do a mix of dental assisting and dental hygiene. So for something like dental materials, for example, that is strictly dental assisting. So on the day that I'm teaching dental materials, I'm going to say to my dental hygiene students, you don't have to come if you don't want to, because we're going to be learning about dental materials, not something you necessarily have to know as a dental hygienist. Dental ethics and law is a mix of both. So I took it from a variety of textbooks, as I do any of my materials, but this one is absolutely for both because dental hygienists and dental assistants both need to know the core values, ethical dilemmas, the different definitions, which we are going to go through shortly. And then we're going to go through some critical thinking as well. So I'm going to be asking you guys questions after I teach the topic, and then you guys can answer for me. It's usually easiest to answer in the chat box. If too many people are talking at once, it can get a little bit hectic, but we'll just kind of read the room and see what everybody wants to do. Does that sound good? And does that make sense? Does anybody have any other questions for me? And are you able to see everything okay? And yes, so this is being recorded. It will be available for VIP Board Exam Prep Academy members and Student Academy members. So if you have any questions about that, let me know. These live classes are open to anybody who is a Dentalelle member and who has paid for a course, because I want to teach and make education available to as many people as possible. But of course, you're all here because you are members. I do tell people who might be a little bit upset with me if they're not members, but they want to join in on the live classes. There's a lot of free content on YouTube. If you go to Dentalelle, my YouTube channel, there's tons of free content all the time. And on Instagram as well. But this is just something special, something additional for members only. So how is everybody doing? Do you have your coffee? Do you have your water? Do you have everything you need? All that fun stuff? We're going to get started. I'm going to teach you guys dental ethics and law. So it's 10:10 here. Not too bad. Usually I end up talking forever. I don't mean to do that. I apologize in advance. I have allergies, so you might see me blow my nose or, sniffle a couple times. I try not to do that when I'm teaching, but it's a bad habit. So my apologies in advance. Okay, you guys. So let's just go right into teaching. Okay. So, and you guys do not have this yet. This is just something special here for my Dentalelle live classes where I have created this for me. It is something where it just helps me remind myself what to teach you guys. Okay. And you will see me kind of scroll up and down a few times. Like, as an example, I'm skipping a few parts right now because I want to talk about this first. Okay. So once you start attending my live classes, you'll kind of see my teaching style. I'm not one to just read something. I like to explain. So if you're looking for something to follow along, feel free to go into your ethics module. If you are inside the courses here, feel free to go into your ethics module, but you won't see anything word for word because that's not how I teach and that's not how you should learn. I have a different teaching style. So I'm surprised that nobody has said yet, "Where is this in our notes?" You don't have it. This is just something for me, but feel free to take pictures with your cell phone, whatever you want to do, okay? Anyway, okay, so basic ethical principles. Okay. So, as dental professionals, either dental assisting, dental hygiene, it doesn't matter. We need to know our basic ethical principles. Now, why is this? As dental professionals, we have to uphold ethical standards. As a person, right? We all have ethics. We know the difference between right and wrong, but dental professionals, we are upheld to a certain standard as well. You will not see an unprofessional dental assistant or an unprofessional dental hygienist. What you do in your own life is your own business, but we also have to be careful when we're out in public. I think this often, okay? So, a little personal side of me. Um, when I'm driving, I can have road rage. It's true, I do. I just wanna honk at everybody. I don't understand why people go too slow, too fast. I do have a point to this, so don't worry. I don't understand why people go 30 under the speed limit or people go super fast and they're honking at me because I'm not, speeding up. People don't pay attention when the lights turn green. I don't know if you're one of those people, but I can have road rage, right? But guess what? I don't because I have a bumper sticker on my car that says teeth cleanings at home, thetooth.lady.com. So I don't want to be acting rude or yelling at somebody, even if they're in the wrong, because I'm now a dental hygienist. When I leave my house, I always consider myself a dental hygienist. So, I mean, I'm a pretty ethical person anyway. I'm a pretty nice person. It's not like I have like a split personality where I'm a dental hygienist and I'm Andrea. No, but I am more careful. I'm not going to yell at somebody out the window because they were going too slow and almost caused me to get into an accident. I smile and wave or whatever. So this is what ethical principles all kind of ties into your personal life as well, but more so, of course, for your professional life. Okay. So you need to know the basic principles, okay? So you have autonomy, non-maleficence, you have beneficence, you have justice, veracity, and confidentiality. Okay, so memorize these. What does autonomy mean? So, autonomy means freedom of choice, basically. So, your patient, for example, and me, even as a dental professional, we have the freedom of choice. We can choose. So, a quick example is if your patient tells you they do not want x-rays, as dental professionals, we have to respect, sorry, their autonomy. We have to say, "Okay, you have the right to choose to not get x-rays." But on an ethical part, we have to respect that, but part of our as part of our job, as part of us as a person of being a dental professional, we now need to educate you. Okay, you have the right to choose, and I hear you, but you do need to sign this piece of paper saying that you have declined x rays every time for the past 3 years. And you understand if we're missing something, we can't be held liable. If you have an abscess under there that's eating away at your tooth, because you're not letting us take an x-ray, we are off the hook. Like, you can't come back and sue us later. Not that we would put it into those words to our patient, but basically we would say, okay, absolutely, but please sign this piece of paper. You're aware we cannot properly diagnose without it. We might be missing something, but you have the right to choose. That is called autonomy. As dental professionals, though, we also have the right. So, on the other side of the coin, we have the right to choose as well. Do we want to continue seeing this patient? They signed everything, we're off the hook, but do we want to continue seeing this patient? Are they being too difficult? Is there more to this patient than just simply refusing x-rays every time? Are they constantly late? Are they rude to staff? So as dental professionals, we have the autonomy as well. We have the right to choose. So I don't know if anybody here has ever thought about that. How, as dental professionals, we have the right, but patients also have the right as well. The next one, do no harm, non maleficence. I don't know if I'm saying that properly, but so in 20 years, okay, there's so many different pronunciations for these things. Do no harm. This is a very common one to talk about. So we cannot do harm to our patient, but guess what? The patient cannot do harm to us either. When we tell the patient to keep their hands at their sides during the procedure and not use their cell phone to, well, not to take pictures, but to, scroll their email or, scroll social media, it's not because we're being difficult, but we can't see properly. We can't move around their hands or they could knock our hand while we're in the patient's mouth. So that's another way of thinking about things too. So we must not cause harm to the patient. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. In any way, we cannot cause harm. We cannot not give them anesthetic because they're rude patients and we want them to feel pain. I mean, that's a horrible thing to say, but you get the idea, right? We cannot cause harm, but they can't cause harm to us either. And then beneficence, to do good or provide a benefit. So as dental professionals, we're always doing good. We're providing a benefit, such as, let's say a patient doesn't have insurance. We're offering them a payment plan. We're fixing their cavity. That is doing good. Um, but the patient, they have to do good to us as well. They have to provide a benefit. If they're not paying their bill, if they're always late, if they're rude to the staff, well, they're not doing good or providing any benefit to us. So we would be allowed to let them go as a patient under the ethical principles. There are certain things we have to follow. Like we have to help them find another dentist. We have to send a letter. Like we have to have something in writing saying this is why you're not a good fit for the office. You've been late 4 out of your 5 appointments. You still haven't paid your bill. It's been 2 years, things like that. Justice. So basically, being fair. We need to be fair to all patients. And this can tie into, let's say, being late as well. Let's say you have a patient that's constantly 30 minutes late, and that's setting you up to be behind for the rest of the day. Is that fair to other patients? Is that fair to other patients who arrive on time, have taken time off of their work day to be there, but they're always late because you are okay to see patients who just stroll in 30 minutes late? I never find that fair. As a mobile dental hygienist, I don't have to worry about that because I'm the one showing up to their home and I'm never late. I might be early, but I'm never late, right? So that's not fair. When I used to work in a dental office, I would get quite annoyed when, my shift ends at 6 and I'd have to stay till 7:30 because the patient decides to stroll in 30 minutes late and the receptionist is like, "Oh, don't worry, she'll still see you. She doesn't mind staying late. She might be starving because she didn't get a lunch, but she doesn't mind staying late." And I'd be like, "No, I'm out of here." I mean, I didn't always do that. It would depend, of course, on the situation. But is that fair, right? Is that fair to the staff? Is that fair to the other patients? Fair. And then veracity, to tell the truth. This can go into a dentist or a dental hygienist or a dental assistant telling the patient they need that gold crown when they have a very small occlusal cavity. That's not telling the truth. The patient doesn't need to do anything. And is a crown really the best thing to do when they just have an occlusal filling, right? So we always need to tell the truth. Even something as simple as saying, this isn't going to hurt. When how do we know it's not going to hurt the patient? We can say we're giving you anesthetic to numb the tooth. If you feel pain or discomfort, let us know. But we always need to be telling the truth. And then confidentiality, never revealing personal patient information. Well, this kind of goes without saying. We always keep things confidential. Even as simple as me saying, "Oh, hi, Mr. Smith. I saw your wife the other day." We technically can't say that because maybe his wife doesn't want him to know she went to the dentist, right? So we need to keep things confidential. We can't say who our patients are unless they bring it up. If Mr. Smith says, "Hey, thank you so much for seeing my wife the other day. She was so thankful that you saw her on short notice. She really wanted her teeth cleaned before we took our cruise." Then you can say, "Oh, yeah, she was lovely. We're happy to do it." But you see how he brought that up. So we're allowed to say that we saw her. But then also to keep their chart confidential. Don't just leave it out on the desk for everybody to see. Don't just leave the schedule open for everybody to see. That's for the dental staff's eyes only. This is where now in the ages that we are in, everything or most things are digital. So we need to make sure to have a password on our computers. So let's say we leave the room to quickly grab something. Well, we need to make sure we sign out of that screen so a patient can't just kind of turn around or look up at the TV that we might have with the schedule on it or their x-rays or something and find any names on there or see any private information. So those are the basic ethical principles. Does anybody have any questions about that at all? So I left myself some notes. So I basically went through all of these already in a different way. And you all have these inside the course as well. So definitely feel free to have a look. And if you guys have any questions at any time, just let me know. Even if you have questions after our live class, send me an email, send me a message through our chat messaging system on the website. Go right ahead. But I do want to bring up HIPAA, okay? So right there here. Um, so this stands for Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. You need to know what that stands for. I always have to look and check what that stands for. I just know it by HIPAA, not Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, but you have to know that. So this provides clear legal guidelines regarding patient confidentiality. Dental professionals are required to protect the patient's personal health info under these regulations. So that just basically means any form they fill out, anything we send electronically, anything, it's just all kept confidential. We're not going to keep claim forms lying around. We're not going to give them out to other patients, obviously, but it just basically says, like, if you read the act, it just basically says we need to keep things confidential, common sense. When we send emails out to patients, we don't put every email address in there. We hide them. It is called a blind carbon copy. We put the email addresses in a blind carbon copy so nobody else can see the email address. If it goes out to all patients, be careful, that type of thing. So there's guidelines. If anybody was asking, well, how do we know what the guidelines are? Well, there's a clear set rule book out for you. Now, continuing education, I love to mention this one, and it's so true. As dental professionals, we are obligated to maintain our continuing education and update our knowledge, not just because we have to through our professional associations. Dental hygienists, dental assistants all have something different. You might have certain hours that you have to have every single year. You might have a points system. When I was a dental assistant, I had a point system. Whereas if I took certain courses, that gave me more points. If I went to a dental convention, that gave me more points. And I had to have a certain amount of points every single year. Or you might have to have a certain amount of hours every 3 years or every year. Maybe you have to maintain a portfolio. But continuing education just basically means we need to always be updating our knowledge. There's nothing worse, and I would see this all the time before this was a thing. Like having to keep up with continuing education, I guess, was always a thing, but what were the consequences when people didn't? None. Back then, okay, when I first started, let's just say 20 years ago, there would be dental hygienists or dental assistants in the office where they graduated in 1985 and they wouldn't know things. They couldn't, you know, I don't wanna say they didn't know things, but they didn't keep up with their knowledge. So, like, they were using old instruments and they weren't sharpening them properly, or they were using this old sealant material, or you know what? A great example would be fluoride. Fluoride has changed in so many ways in so many years that if somebody wasn't keeping up with their continuing education, they might have still been using those foam things you put in the mouth, you squeeze out the, like, fluoride flavors in the foam, you put them in the patient's mouth for 4 minutes, you put the saliva ejector in there and done. Well, studies have now shown that doesn't work as well as a fluoride varnish. So, if you had a dentist, if you had a dental hygienist, a dental assistant, if they all kinda worked together, but they didn't upkeep their courses for 10 years, they're probably still using that foam fluoride. Does anybody remember that? Is that still being used in your dental office? Like, I would love to hear thoughts. But you see how that can pose a problem. They're not doing anything wrong, but are they really doing anything right? They're charging the patient for something that's probably not working. That stuff was disgusting. The fluoride varnish is so much easier, so this is why. This is why we have ethics. So, again, professional code of ethics is what any professional needs. A chiropractor, a doctor's office, it doesn't matter who you are, we are professionals, right? We are specifically healthcare professionals, but we are professionals. We have a professional code of ethics. A lot of it is common sense, in my opinion. We have to follow the laws, we have to follow the rules, we have to cause no harm. It says a little bit of that here in the professional code of ethics. We can't judge, we can't stereotype. Oh my goodness, Safia is saying that her office still uses it. Oh my goodness. See, that's sad. Now, I'm not saying they don't keep up with their continuing education, they probably do, but the foam is so much cheaper and it's fluoride, so a lot of offices think, "Well, why mess with a good thing?" Right? Oh, see, I like the foam. It tastes yucky, it's messy. No. The nice thing about me having my own practice is I can buy whatever I want and, apply what I want to my patients, and the fluoride varnish all the way. Does anybody have any questions about kind of the code of ethics in general? So, we just have certain standards we have to uphold, okay? Now, ethical dilemmas is on the other side of the coin, okay? So, what does this mean? So, ethical dilemmas mean you have two or more of these principles that we talked about before are in conflict. So, just to kind of remind you guys. So, the freedom of choice, to do no harm, to provide good, to tell the truth, and to be confidential. So we have a conflict when or we have an ethical dilemma, a conflict, like something's not good when two of these principles don't really mesh well together. So for example, a patient who has recently suffered a heart attack wishes to have veneers placed before going on a cruise, but the dentist believes in waiting would be safer for the patient's health. In this scenario, the conflict is between the patient's right to choose, so they want those veneers. They have the right to choose and say, "Listen, I get it. You told me I should wait, but I want them, and you have to do what I want." And the dentist doesn't wanna cause harm because we know as dental professionals, if you've just had a heart attack, you should be waiting at least 6 months for any treatment, depending on the type of heart attack you had, depending on if you had any surgery to maybe place stents. If the doctor says it was a pretty hectic heart attack, like, I mean, all heart attacks aren't good, but there are different severities, right? So, we don't see the patient because we don't want them to suffer a medical emergency in the chair because it's not like they're going to a spa where they're getting a manicure. They're getting dental work done. We might be putting them under, we might be giving them local anesthetic, which can cause stress. So, do we listen to our patient because they have the right to choose? But then we also say, "But we can't cause harm." If we listen to the patient, we could be causing harm, you know? So what do we do? So this is an ethical dilemma, but guess what? There are steps you have to do to solve it, and I have listed them here. You have this, of course, inside the course too. And I apologize, you guys. I'm just going to blow my nose for 1 sec, okay? Sorry. I don't know if anybody here has allergies, but oh my goodness, I do. And it's no fun. Not always, but I do today. Okay, so steps for solving the ethical dilemmas. You need to identify the alternatives. You need to determine the professional implications, rank the alternatives, and then choose the course of action. So, blah, blah, blah. What does this mean, right? So, to identify the alternatives in this situation. So, if you put the veneers on that patient who is going on a cruise soon, she wants it done before the cruise, but she just had a heart attack. So, the alternatives is okay, so you put the veneers on the patient who has just had a heart attack. Well, what if there's a medical emergency? What if there's an issue? Can they come back to you later and say you shouldn't have done that, or heaven forbid, the patient gets worse because they should have waited. They became very stressed and had another heart attack or something happened, right? Or you put the veneers on the patient and everything's fine. They're happy, you're happy, they're good to go. They promise to take it easy. They're going on a cruise, they're going to relax, because after you've had a heart attack, depends on why you had the heart attack. Do the doctors know why? Was it because you were very stressed? Was it because, there's different reasons. So consider the possible outcomes of everything you're going to do. Are you going to place the veneers or are you not? Okay. And then determine the professional implications. So if we place those veneers when we know better, when we know we shouldn't because the patient just had a heart attack, can that come back to bite us? Can the patient sue us? Can we get in trouble by our professional association? Right? Um, or maybe the patient is going to be so upset that they leave the practice. Do we want that to happen? But we're professionals. Our professional association, our patient is always number one, but then we have our professional association on our back too, right? Like the patient says, do it. The professional association says, don't do it, or I'm going to get you in trouble. What are you going to do? Rank the alternatives. Choose the best course of action. So, do we do the veneers to make the patient happy and we make some great money? Do we not do the veneers, but we know the patient is safe? They just had a heart attack. We're being careful. We know we did the right thing. We're not causing harm, so we can't get in trouble from our professional association. But then if we don't do the veneers, is the patient going to be mad and leave us and we lose a bunch of money? So rank all of the different alternatives. First, we have to identify them. And then we have to think, okay, our professional obligations, implications, what do we do? Then we rank them. And then what's the best course of action? So, what would you all think? Like, what would you do? Would you place the veneers, but do everything you can in what you're taught in a medical emergency situation? Do you document, say to the patient, okay, sign here, you are saying you're allowing me to do this, even though I've explained the risks of you just having a heart attack. Things could get worse. You could have another heart attack in the chair. Who knows? I'm going to be very careful here, but this is what you want. You have the right to choose, but sign here. Is that something you would do? Or would you say, I'm sorry, I'd love to do it, but I have a professional obligation here. We do not see patients within 6 months of a heart attack because of this, this, and this. I don't want to cause you more harm. I hear what you're saying. You want to do it, but let's do it right afterwards or, after the 6 months. And the patient says, okay, I'm just going to go somewhere else because I want this done. And I can guarantee you there will be a dentist who will do it. What would you guys do? Adam, thank you for answering. I'm going to give you my answer, but I'm curious what your answer is. And there is no wrong answer here, by the way. There is no right answer. There is no wrong answer. This is just us talking about what situations could happen. Okay. I can honestly see it from both sides. Another dentist is going to do it anyway. And you're doing everything you can. The patient's going to sign something. And hey, you're doing everything you can. What if the patient didn't tell you they had a heart attack? You would be none the wiser and you would do the best you can, right? They'd be happy, you'd be happy. So what would you do? So Adam, thank you for answering. For the others that are here, hello, welcome. What would you guys do? Type in the chat box. I'm very curious. Let's all have a little chat about it. Um, so does anybody not understand kind of how you work through the ethical dilemmas? Hello, good morning. So see, just things you have to think about, right? So I personally would not do it just because I would just feel so nervous about doing something wrong or giving them a heart attack or, something else happening. It's very clear cut, right? Like it's very clear cut. We don't do any treatment within 6 months. Even if I called the doctor and the doctor said, you can if you want. It was a very minor heart attack. Don't even worry about it. I might be like, yeah, I just have this gut feeling. I don't want to do it. I would tell the patient, you have the right to go somewhere else, but I can do the veneers so much better. Just wait. Maybe you shouldn't have had a heart attack. you know, that's personally what I would do because I wouldn't want to risk it. I'm not a risk taker. Um, so I wouldn't want to do it. So, exactly. Oh, I completely understand. Don't worry about signing in late. Our times are gonna change a bit too. I think this is too early for a lot of people, so we will switch this up anyway. So no problem. If anybody has any questions, comments, type in the chat box anytime, okay? We might be going a bit over today because I we did start a bit later because I was just talking and saying hello, and so we might be till like 11:10 today, like 10 minutes after our usual class. So again, you guys, think about different ethical dilemmas. You do have different ones inside the courses as well. We will talk about more, but this is just kind of thinking about them, right? So let's go over one together. So a patient needs, and you should all see this here, a patient needs a procedure such as a root canal, but refuses the treatment due to the fear or cost concerns. The dentist knows that without the treatment, the patient's condition will get worse, potentially leading to a more serious issue. Again, the patient has the right to choose. If they can't afford it, they can't afford it. But we are obligated to do what is the best interest of the patient's health. Okay. So things we have to go through, and this is a very common thing. Um, the patient needs. This happened to me just the other day. I was cleaning a patient's teeth, and their teeth are so worn down. They just so worn down. The root surfaces are showing. They have extreme bone loss. I can't just clean the teeth and send them on their way. They need to see a dentist. They need to see a perio specialist. They might need crowns. They need some teeth extracted because they're so loose. I'm surprised they don't have an abscess. They need these things, but they won't do it. They say, just clean my teeth. I don't have the money. I'd love to do it. I don't have the money. Do you have the money? I don't have the money. It would be thousands upon thousands of dollars. Do I just clean the teeth? And yes, that's exactly what I do. I clean the teeth, I do the best I can, and I tell them at every appointment, I might be missing something. I need the x-rays. But do I refuse to see them? No. But anyways, moving on here. So this happens a lot where you know what the patient needs to better their health, but they just simply can't afford it. So what do you do? Oh, sorry guys, I just moved my screen here. So what do you do? The dentist should have a discussion with the patient explaining the risks of refusing the treatments and the benefits of proceeding. So this should always happen. Explain to the patient, I do understand. I completely hear you, but just so you know, you not getting this treatment could mean you could lose all of the teeth, or you not getting that crown done could mean that tooth could crack and then we have to take it out. I know you don't want that. So it's better to do the crown now. But in this case, the root canal. If we don't do the root canal and we leave it alone, there could be an abscess. That tooth is infected. It's going through your body. This isn't good. So we always explain to the patient what's happening. If the patient still says no, we have to respect that. We can't just do it unless we're doing it for free, but we can't just do it and then chase the patient and yell at them later for not paying us when they said they don't have the money. That's not how it works. So we have to respect that the patient doesn't want to do it, but have it in writing that they're aware it needs to be done. You'll keep bringing it up if they keep coming in for an emergency appointment because they're in so much pain from the root canal that needs to be done because that tooth has so many issues, well, we have to see them, but we just have to remind them, "You're in pain, you keep getting infections, we keep having to put you on antibiotics, that tooth needs to be treated." But then consider alternatives. If the patient cannot afford the procedure, the dentist could offer alternate treatments or refer the patient to a specialist or a low cost clinic. What does this mean? So, could you guys answer for me in the chat box? If a patient can't afford the root canal, because root canals could be $900 a tooth or up to 2000. Okay, so that's expensive. If the patient can't afford the root canal, what would be the next option they could do? If the dentist says they need a root canal, it's because the tooth is dead or dying, infected. They need to take out the nerve, right? So why would you need to do that? So if they can't afford that $2,000 root canal, what else would you suggest? Any ideas? Adam, yes, perfect. So we would offer an extraction. Yes, you guys, thank you. So that's not the same as the root canal because you're taking out the tooth, but that might cost $40 or $100, but that's a lot different, right? Than 2000. Us not offering that option to them is us doing a bad thing. We need to give them alternatives because if we don't tell them, the patient wouldn't know. So we need to say, okay, this isn't the best option, but your next choice would be, do you want me to take the tooth out? It would get you out of pain. You wouldn't have to come seeing me to go on antibiotics. Again, it would get you out of pain because that tooth is the issue, but you wouldn't have a tooth there. And then we can discuss things in the future, like placing a dental implant, which is expensive too. But we can place a dental implant, we can put a bridge there, we can put a partial denture there, there's different things we can do. That's an option. Or we leave it alone and this is what's gonna keep on happening. Or how about I refer you to a low-cost clinic? Would you like to do that? So does everybody here understand that's what alternatives mean? You give them other options. I do this all day long, even for just a simple teeth cleaning. I give my patients different options. If I tell them I'd love to see you every 3 months because your gums are bleeding like crazy because you brush every other day, and they go, I can't afford it. Sorry. I go, okay, so we could do every 6 months, but I'm going to be cleaning your teeth for longer. It might be more expensive. And I'm going to suggest a saltwater rinse every single night. Start brushing every day, but then what if they say, like, "Andrea, no, I can't afford it. Can't I just come see you once every 3 years?" As long as I explain to them, "Well, no, you can't because your condition's gonna get worse. You could even lose the teeth. You could have severe periodontal disease. Bleeding gums isn't good." Explaining things to them. They have the right to pick and choose when they book an appointment with me, but if I don't explain things to them, I'm not upholding my ethical duty as a professional. Does everybody understand that? So as professionals, we can't just simply say, "Okay, if you wanna see me every 3 years, sure." Like, absolutely, you have the right to choose. You don't always wanna be Mr. Nice Guy, right? Like, you can't just say, "Okay, that's fine. Yep, I'll just make a note." We always explain. Imagine if I said to them, "Sure, but did you know if I'm seeing you once every 3 years, you could lose the teeth? The gum disease is going to get worse." And then they say to me, "Oh my god, I had no idea. So can you explain gum disease to me again? I just thought if I started brushing every day, that'd be good enough." What if they didn't know? So we always have to educate. Okay, and then moving on here. So, ongoing care. Even if the patient refuses the recommended treatment, the dentist should continue to provide the necessary care within the boundaries of the patient's choices, maintaining open communication. So, this means if the patient keeps coming back every month for an emergency appointment, they have to be seen right away. They're in so much pain. We can't say to them, "Listen, like I keep telling you, it's that tooth. I'm not going to see you anymore until you get the root canal. Like you're taking up chair time, it's always an emergency, you're always late." No, we have to continue seeing them, doing what they want, and providing them the necessary care they need. We can't just turn them away because they're being annoying or they're always late. We have a professional obligation to keep seeing that patient. Okay? So this is working through different dilemmas. I do have another sheet that I will be posting later about these different type of questions and thoughts um, to um, to to go through so you truly understand. We just won't have time to do them all within the hour, but I will post these later because practice makes perfect. There's quite a few here. Did I put in 5 or more? I forget. Sorry. Yes. So I put in 5 different ethical dilemmas to go through. We just don't have enough time to go through all of them. If you guys needed some extra practice. Would everybody like some extra practice for these ethical dilemmas, or do you feel like they're pretty self-explanatory? We do have some inside the courses too, but do you feel you need a little bit more? Let me know. Okay, so moving on here, you guys. So, again, just walking through these different ethical dilemmas. But what I also want you guys to go through are different definitions. Okay, so you do have to know the law side of things as well. This is not very exciting, which is why I leave it to the end. But the law side of things, like what's the difference between civil law, contract law, criminal law? Somebody had asked earlier, do you follow the modern dental assisting textbook? This is actually from the modern dental assisting textbook, but there's also similar definitions in the clinical, what's it called? The clinical dental hygiene text too. So these are definitions that if you just go in your textbooks and find your dental ethics and law chapters, you know how there's always definitions? Go through the definitions, okay? Because you do need to know the differences. So for example, civil law, it relates to individuals, businesses, or organizations. Contract law is a category that involves an agreement for services in exchange for payment. So that would be contract law. But then criminal law is like a crime. So violations against a state or government. But another definition to point out is direct supervision. Does everybody see that here? Direct supervision is a level. Can I draw on this? I think I can, but I don't want to. Ah, fun. I can. Can everybody see that? That's neat. So direct supervision. Now, does it disappear or does it stay there? Okay, apparently it stays there. Uh-oh. Oh, I can clear all. Okay. Anyway, sorry. So direct supervision, you guys. I just don't know how to. Anyway, direct supervision. This is a level of supervision in which the dentist is present when any dental professional performs their function. So dental hygiene, dental assisting. So direct is when the dentist is there. Okay. So we talk about different supervisions inside the course. Check those out again because then you have general supervision. Oh, sorry, guys. General supervision right here. This is where the dental professionals perform the functions according to instructions from the dentist, who is not necessarily present. So this would be when, let's say, the dentist says to your dental assistant, I'm going to be a little bit late today, but could you, on our first patient, take alginate impressions? They want to get teeth whitening done. So the dental assistant doesn't just do it, they've had instructions from the dentist to do so, okay? Or it would be like the dental hygienist taking x-rays when the dentist isn't in the office because x-rays have to be prescribed by a dentist. The dental hygienist takes the x-rays because they're due for x-rays because in the chart the dentist said please take x-rays at their next appointment. They're not just taking x-rays for the heck of it, even though as dental hygienists we kind of know when they need x-rays or not, but that's not our job. We have to follow the orders from the dentist. I'm my own dental hygienist with my own practice, so things are different. But when you work for a dentist, those clear instructions have to be in the chart, okay? For dental assistants, you don't have to have clear instructions in the chart as long as you have a verbal, you can take the alginate impressions before I'm there because I'm going to be a little bit late today. But that's because dental assistants are kind of under the dentists. Dental assistants have their own association, of course, but they can go back and say, "Well, the dentist told me to do it." But if the dentist says, "No, I didn't," then you have a problem, right? But the dentist shouldn't be doing that if they indeed told you to do it. So just different definitions to go through, which you guys have inside the course. Feel free to take a picture of this too if you like. There you go. Malpractice. We all need to understand what that means. What would happen if somebody has a malpractice suit against them? They're doing something they shouldn't be doing within their dental practice. It's not good. Oh, I see. I need to make sure those don't have the red lines. I hate that. Like here and here, sorry. I just didn't go through spell check, but those are obviously spelled correctly, so I'll change that. Um, so just go through these definitions, understand them. For those of you taking the board exam, I don't know which definitions you're going to have on the exam. They don't tell us. They like to pick and then ask, okay? I find tort law is quite often on the dental hygiene exam. Sometimes a dental assistant too. So this involves involving an act that brings harm to a person or damage to property. So if you didn't study that definition, you wouldn't know. You get the answer wrong. What I want to point out before we can actually stop soon here, like wow, time goes by fast. Written consent. You have informed consent and written consent. Informed consent is a little bit where the patient is in the chair for their root canal appointment. They have gotten in the chair, they book the root canal appointment. It's assumed they know it's for the root canal appointment. But before every appointment, you should always say, "Hi, Mr. Smith, you are here for the root canal appointment today. Did you have any questions?" As a dental hygienist, when I used to work in a practice, I would always do this because it does happen sometimes where I would say, "Hi, Mr. Smith, you're in for a teeth cleaning today. Did you have any questions?" And they would say, "Oh, I thought this was for the root canal today and my teeth cleaning was next week." I'd be like, "Oh, no. Is it okay if we do the teeth cleaning today?" So you need to get that consent. He might say, "Well, no, I thought we were doing the root canal. I had booked 2 hours off. I don't want to get my teeth cleaned. I want the root canal first." Then you might have to go, how did this happen, right? So you might have to talk to the receptionist. Did he book the appointment or did we make a mistake? And then talk to the dentist. Can we book him in today to get the root canal done? He really wants it done, but likely the dentist is going to say, "I don't have time to do a quick root canal, sorry, but sometimes we have to check and work things out, right?" But written consent means it's written, okay? So this involves a written explanation of any findings, treatment, anything we have in the chart. Written consent. When you have a new patient, they have to sign a consent form. That's written consent. They don't sign that consent form before every appointment unless your office does do that. For my consent forms, I just have them sign it as a new patient, so I have it on their file. And then every time I see them, I will let them know what the appointment's for. "Do you consent to this appointment today?" "Yes, I do." I just simply write that the patient consented in the chart, but they don't have to write anything or sign anything every single time. Okay. So there are different types of consents, I guess, is just what I was trying to get at for you. Okay, so again, I go through the different laws, which you all have inside the course. So have a look at that. It just looks a bit different from what I have here. We talked about direct supervision and general. Make sure to know that. And just kind of different definitions, which again, you all have inside the course. I'm not going to go through all of them, but of course, if you guys have any questions, let me know. What I like to do also, this was our first session, but for every other session we have, I'd like to take some time at the beginning of our session and say, does anybody have any questions from last week's session? Because a lot of you guys might not have gone through ethics yet. You kind of wanted me to teach it to you, and then you're going to go through it on your own. So you don't necessarily have questions yet because you don't know what to ask. But before our session next week, let me know if you have any questions and I'm happy to talk about it and re-clarify a couple things if you need to. Okay. So that was just kind of what I wanted to talk about. Does anybody have any questions so far? What, let's see. If I go on the next tab, is that going to show you? No. So let me just cancel out of this. And I'm going to post this later because, wow, time goes by fast. But what I did do for you guys is I have a critical thinking sheet that I can supply to my members. Again, you all have questions, answers, rationales inside your study guides, all of that. PDF files. You have things like this inside the course as well, but these are new. This is something that I had come up with. What time is it? See, time goes by fast. Let's go through one together and I can post the rest of this for you too. I will post this maybe inside the Facebook group. I'm not sure exactly yet how I'm going to do this. Maybe I'll do that. Would that work for everybody? Can I post files inside a Facebook group? I can't remember. I can try that. Or maybe I'll do a video on it separately. Would you guys like that? Maybe I'll do that because I bet that would help if I'm explaining it to you and like teaching it and stuff. But let's just go through one together now so you have an idea. Because how many pages is this? It actually 6 pages. So there's different questions, different answers, critical thinking. So critical thinking means it's not as simple as like a yes and no answer. You have to think about it. You have to work through problems. So let's go through autonomy and decision making. So this is a question that I had for you. How should a dentist how should a dentist handle a situation where a patient refuses a recommended treatment, citing personal reasons? How does the principle of autonomy play a role in this? Oh, sorry, I should hide the answers. Sorry, guys. So, do you remember what autonomy means? The patient's right to choose. Okay, so they have the right to refuse, but they're not really telling you why they're refusing. They're just simply saying, I don't really want to tell you, it's personal. What do you do? Do you badger them and be like, "Well, you have to tell me why." Like, come on. Or, "Okay, fine, sign here." It could be they're refusing X-rays for a personal reason, or they're refusing a root canal, or they're refusing fluoride, or they're refusing something for personal reasons. How do you handle that? So think about this on your own for like a minute. How would you personally handle it? And then I'm gonna go through the answer for you. Okay? So the dentist needs to respect the patient's right to choose. Okay, so here, while making sure the patient is fully informed about the consequences. So the patient, or sorry, the dentist should provide a clear instructions, including any risks, and document the patient's refusal. However, the dentist cannot force treatment and must respect the patient's decision. So I feel like everybody should have known that because we kind of talked about it, right? So does that make sense right here? Did anybody think something different? Did anybody think, "Oh, I just thought we could say like, okay, sure, you know." The main thing is the patient always has the right to choose, but we also need to give them the education and say, "Okay, you have the right, but this is why I'm recommending this. It's not just because I want to make some extra money. It's not just because I have nothing better to do with my time. This is why I'm recommending it. My professionalism, my skills, all of the school that I went through is telling me you need this root canal because of this and this and this. You have the right to still say no, but you understand what I'm saying to you because the patient might not understand. The patient might say, I thought a root canal meant to take the tooth out. So, see, it's a good thing you talked about it with the patient. We can't always assume a patient knows anything. You might even assume the patient knows what a composite filling is. But they might have thought a filling meant a crown, and they're like, "I don't wanna spend 800 bucks on a gold crown, so my tooth is gold for the rest of my life." And then you go, "Oh, we're talking about a composite filling here. Do you not know what a composite filling is?" And they might go, "No, what's that?" "Oh, well, let me explain it to you." So they were refusing treatment because they thought you were talking about a crown the whole time, or they were refusing treatment because they thought it was gonna hurt them, or you're taking out a tooth, or it's gonna cost $8,000. Meanwhile, it's gonna cost them $20. I don't know. So do you see why we should always explain things to the patient first? If they still wanna say no, okay. Okay. So there's quite a few here, and yes, I'm going to post them afterwards. I'm going to even do another video too to really explain them. I think that's what I'd like to do as well, because me just simply posting them, you can read through them, and that's great, but are you gonna understand them? I don't know. So I'd like to help, and you all have more inside the course as well. So I'm not just leaving you hanging. This is just something extra. And then in the same document, I talk about these principles again to remind everybody and different examples of these principles, okay? So here, I'll stop presenting my screen. So, what did we do today? We talked about the different principles. So, as I'm saying this to you, ethical principles, do you remember what that means? Are you saying like, shoot, what does that mean again? Does that mean dilemmas? So ethical principles are those different principles we talked about: do no harm, confidentiality, all that fun stuff. But then we also talked about ethical dilemmas. So, what if two of those principles don't really mesh together? We talked about the patient that just had a heart attack, but they want their veneers placed now because they're going on their cruise soon. What do? We have an ethical dilemma. And then we also talked about different definitions. Know the difference between general supervision, the different laws, direct supervision, all of those different definitions. Okay, so that's ethics and law in a nutshell. All for dental hygienists, dental assistants, any dental professional, really. Okay, so any dental professional, pretty much anybody. I mean, we have to have a set of ethics, but as dental professionals, we focus on the dental professional side of things and then us as people. Okay, so how did everybody do? Any questions, feel free to type in the chat box. And if you have any questions, let me know. Just as a reminder, at our next session, is that next Sunday? Because we will have our sessions every Sunday except for holidays, because usually people don't show up anyway. So I'm just talking to myself, and that's no fun. So we'll have them every Sunday except for holidays. Um, I'm in Canada here, so maybe I'll do American holidays too. We'll see. We'll see. But I think it might be at 12 noon because a lot of you had said you have to wake up too early, which I don't blame you. I want you guys to get your sleep, but I will come up with the time and let you guys know inside the Facebook group for next week, of course. And I will also come up with a schedule. So we talked about that at the beginning, so you know kind of what we will be talking about. We had done ethics and law this week because we haven't done it in a while, and that was kind of at the start of most textbooks. So I kind of wanted to do that. Um, but if anybody has any questions about our session today, feel free to post them, of course, in the comment section, or email me or send me a message through our chat anytime. If I don't get back to you right away, it's because I'm teaching a class or I'm seeing patients, but I will get back to you always within 24 hours. If you post in the Facebook group, I will get back to you sooner because I check that first because they're for members. So I make sure, because I do get a lot of emails, a lot of spam emails too. So it's kind of hard to weed out those sometimes. But if you guys ever need anything, I am here. Before our next session, we will also have a time where I'm going to ask, is there any questions from our last session about ethics, law, anything? So if you haven't had a time to go through ethics and law yet, don't worry, you will have the time this week because you have the entire week. And then if you need any additional clarification, that's why I am here and I can re-explain something to you. Okay? Now, we don't have too many members today because this is kind of a new class, but thank you guys for coming. For those of you who did come, it's nice to know I'm not talking to myself because that's no fun. So thank you guys, and feel free to message me again, like with any feedback. If you were hoping for a different time, I can't make everybody happy, but we will change the time a bit so it's not too early for most people. Okay, but it will always be on Sundays because I feel like Sundays is good. Evenings are tricky for people because sometimes people have to work. Weekends are typically better because people are home. They don't have school if they're still in school. So that's what I've kind of decided to do. But if anybody wants to network with any other student, feel free to comment and leave your email address down below and mention if you are a dental hygiene student, a dental assisting student, or a dental assistant, or a dental hygienist. And feel free to network with each other. You can post in the Facebook group as well. Go right ahead. And if anybody ever just wants to have your own like student class where you want to talk to other students, network, say hello, I'm happy to open up a Google Meet for you guys. I won't be there necessarily. I'll just kind of like let you guys mingle, have fun, ask questions, form study groups. I'm happy to do that. If you guys want, just let me know. Okay. I find every student cohort is different. I have like the last class I taught months ago, a lot of students said, "Oh my God, like we want to get started right away to network with other students." But then other cohorts I have say, "I'd rather just study alone. I'm not really interested in networking, so you don't have to open up any other classes for me. It's totally fine." So I like to read the room. So you guys just let me know, okay? And I can always leave this open after the class as well if anybody wants to talk to other students. I typically do that for about 5 minutes where I'm not here necessarily. Like I turn off my mic, I turn off my camera, I just do things at my desk here. If anybody wants to just kind of chat with other students, you can go right ahead, okay? I do stop the recording, so after I'm done my little talk here, I will stop the recording so it won't be recorded for everybody to see. Not that that matters, I'm sure that's totally fine, but I do turn that off for you guys. I leave it open for about 5 minutes. If I see you're all kind of talking away, I will leave it open for up to 30 minutes, okay? But if nobody's talking, if everybody's signing off, then I just kinda close it after 5 minutes. So how did everybody do? Any questions? Anything that you wanna say before we sign off here? You can comment below in the chat box. And if not, I'll see you guys next Sunday. I will post all of these fun things that I talked about. I will be doing a video too to kind of explain more ethical dilemmas. And I hope this helped you guys. I hope this helped clarify things and get you kind of excited, inspired again to start studying ethics and law and all that boring stuff, but fun stuff at the same time. So I hope this helped. Okay. Well, thank you guys. I don't see any comments, so I will sign off. Thank you. I will post in the Facebook group for us a little bit later so you have our next week's schedules so we know what we will be teaching. And thank you guys so much for coming. It was so nice to see everybody. Okay. Bye for now. Bye, guys.